Okay, I am working number 7 from the Polygon Quiz. First, we notice that there are 2 regular polygons, so let's identify what kind of polygons those are. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have an octagon. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. You can't see that screen very well. But in octagon, I'm going to do 8 minus 2 times 180 divided by 8. And can't see it very well, but I do get 135. So I know every angle of this regular octagon is 135. And I can work with this octagon for a while. I know that an octagon has 8 sides. So if I draw a diagonal that splits it 4 and 4, it's a diagonal of symmetry. Therefore, it bisects the angle. 135 divided by 2 is 67.5. So I now know this angle, 67.5, 67.5. How did I know that? Because this diagonal has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides on the right. So it cuts the shape perfectly in half, meaning it cuts the angles in half as well. So I know D and I know A. Now we can work with this shape right here. I'll go ahead and highlight it. We have a trapezoid, but not just any trapezoid there. We have an isosceles trapezoid since all sides are congruent. If you need to go off to the side and draw it, you can. We know that these angles are 135. And we need to know angle B right here. We can use a trapezoid rule that the leg angles are supplementary. 180 minus 135 gets us 45 degrees. Or we could have added these up. Let's see, 270. Subtracted that from the degrees in a trapezoid in a quadrilateral, and then divided it by 2, because we know if it's an isosceles trapezoid that these 2 angles are the same measure right there. It's trying to focus. You can do it. Okay. Okay. So we've taken care of those so far. There are, of course, multiple ways I could find angle C. I'm going to go with the most direct way in my mind, which would be to find this angle right here and then do linear pair. So I'm going to add up 45 plus 67.5. I'm going to subtract it from 180. It ended up being isosceles. 67.5 goes there. And then I find the linear pair of 67.5. 180 minus 67.5, 112.5. So now I've really found most of the angles dealing with my octagon. Now we can focus on this hexagon right here, 6 sides. Let's find E first. N minus 2 times 180 divided by N. So I can find what each angle of a regular hexagon is equal to, and I get 120. I'm not going to write it too many times or my picture would get a little messy. So we have found E. Now, we know that this one, when I extend it, it's kind of a signal, that is a diagonal symmetry. It cuts my hexagon half and half. 3 sides on the right, 3 sides on the left. So I already know that these angles are 60 and 60 right here. 60, and we have to be careful. That whole one is 60, so we have a little bit more work to do there. This one's 120 right here. I'm going to go ahead and find angle F. I know that this whole angle of my octagon is 135, and I've used 60 degrees of it. So that whole angle kind of is going like this. This is F, and this is 60. So I've used 60 degrees. 135 minus 60 gets me 75. So notice, no, this segment did not cut my angle in half. But what I did was I used the hexagon and octagon together and used the 60 from the hexagon, the angle being bisected, and then the whole angle was 135. So 135 minus 60. That got me angle F. Okay, let's focus on this triangle right here. We know it's a regular hexagon, so I know that this is congruent to this. So I know my base angles are congruent. I know it's an isosceles triangle. So I can do 180 minus 120 and divide that by 2. 30 degrees, 30 degrees. Now, you might have been wondering if this was an angle bisector, and now your suspicions are confirmed. This whole angle is 60, this angle right here, and I've used 30 degrees of it. So how many degrees do I have left? So G and H were both 30. Probably another way to do that. But that's what became most obvious to me. So you can use these answers to fill in these over here. And make sure you know how to do all of these things and all these tricks for the assessment. Notice I used a trapezoid. I used isosceles triangle. I used lines of symmetry. And then I used angle addition. When I knew a whole angle was 135 and 60 degrees had been used from it, I had to do some subtracting. So all of those are good skills that you can use on your assessment.